Obviously, Road to Perdition, Munich, Defiance, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but you, many people know you as James Bond. I think the greatest Bond. I think you're the greatest Bond of all time. Thank you. I remember the first time Casino Royale at the end, it said, James Bond will return. I went, it'd be better.
Oh, thank you very much.
I would see another Daniel Craig James Bond movie in a minute.
Right.
Now, you've been reported to have accepted the role of James Bond again. In the New York Times, back in July, they said that you are going to be the next James Bond. And people have been asking about it all day.
Yes, they have. I've been doing interviews.
Yeah.
I've been quite cagey about it. I've been doing interviews all day, and people have been asking me, and I think I've been rather coy, but I kind of felt like, if I was going to sort of speak the truth, I should speak the truth to you. And you should...
Daniel Craig, we could use some good news here. Daniel Craig, will you return as James Bond?
Yes.
Thanks so much. Daniel Craig, everybody.
Shall I leave now?
Okay, welcome to Trimming the Movie Fat, the podcast that trims films from franchises that don't belong. I'm Stephen Nicholson.
And I'm Paul Nicholson.
And thank you for returning for part 2 of our look at Daniel Craig's James Bond movies. In the previous pod, we looked at Craig's first 3 movies, Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. Today, it's the turn of the contentious final 2 entries, Spectre and No Time to Die. Will these movies survive the back-to-work Skyfall-like MI6 physical assessment? Or will we be borrowing Blofeld's Spectre torture device to stick needles into our brain to forget about them? Keep listening to find out. As ever, we'll share some Bond movie facts, provide an overview of each movie and share our thoughts on each. And to end, we'll rank all 5 movies in order of each of our preferences. Joining us, driving through the almost deserted streets of Rome, are Paul and Davie Melon. How are you both, gents?
Hello.
Very well.
Very well.
Good. So you managed to survive the first 3 movies. I think we were pretty much unanimous. We all gave Casino Royale and Skyfall the thumbs up, and Quantum of Solace was not so enthusiastically received. Yeah. So that was our discussion for the last movie. Do you have a favourite scene from these 2 movies? Is there anyone that you immediately think of when you think of these 2 movies, Davie?
I would say it's the opening scene in the final movie. I think it goes on for about 27 minutes, and it's sort of like kind of 2 scenes, like a long horror scene, and then goes into I don't know, is it supposed to be Italy or somewhere? But the action in that is just incredible. The stunts, like the motorbike going up the side of the wall, and that's brilliant.
Well, I would agree with you. I think that's my favourite scene, the opening sequence, including the bit that's just prior to that with what's the main? I can't forgetting his name already.
Lucifer.
Yes. So that part just before it as well is fantastic. So yeah, I'm with you there. Davie, Paul. We'll have brother Paul and Paul. So we'll go to Paul.
No, David, no. I liked the scene in Rome and the Spectre meeting.
Okay.
You first see Blofeld.
Hello, James.
I just said the way it was all set up, the lighting and the meeting, and the way everyone was sitting at the table, and cuckoo.
Hi, James.
And then the car chase afterwards with the Aston Martin.
Yeah. I do have to point out Paul's impersonation. Blofeld's went very effeminate.
Yeah.
Hello, James.
No, it's just he looks round. Hello, James. He just looks up on the balcony.
Is that the bit where James Bond spits out his popcorn because he's like, what? He was just relaxing, enjoying himself there. But yeah, I agree with you. That's a really good scene. And the way it's lit and everything. It always reminded me like something out of Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. You know, the scene in there, which is kind of similar. With Tom Cruise goes to the kind of the big house or the mansion. Yeah, it's kind of like that. And Brother Paul, you got a favourite scene?
I quite like the start of Spectre, actually. The pre-title sequence in Mexico City. Unfortunately, the film never really picks up from there. But for me, I really like the start. I think it's really good. And it's interesting because I think Daniel Craig had like injured his leg. So like when he's walking along the rooftop bit, he's actually got a limp, but he's sort of trying to cover it up. I just like that, but I thought it was really good. And the way the camera pans and then he's up in the lift. And then you see him in the room and then he's out on the balcony. I thought it was really quite clever.
Yeah, and it's a trick as well. You're meant to think it's all one take, and there was only a couple of cuts in it there, but it's clever the way they have cut it. And of course, Sam Mendes took it a step further with his next movie in 1917, where it was all, you know, supposedly one giant take. So yeah, no, it's impressive. Okay, using his bionic fake eye, Blofeld has contacted us from his prison cell to tell us to get on with it. Okay, play the Spectre trailer.
This organization, do you know what it's called?
Its name is Spectre.
Look around you, James. Everything you believed in, a ruin. Why did you come?
I came here to kill you.
And I thought you came here to die.
Well, it's all a matter of perspective. In a really good place. I mean, I think the end of Skyfall, as sad as it was a new beginning, and, you know, having Rafe come in as M and sort of say, look, we've got a lot of work to do. It sort of felt like a new, an opportunity to sort of look at it with fresh eyes. So I think he's, I think he's enjoying life. He's still got a mission in his own head that he needs to sort of see through. He's got a hunch about a number of things, and he wants to, you know, whether he's allowed to or given permission to or not, he wants to go and he wants to sort of act upon it.
Triumph of Skyfall, and having loved Skyfall as much as I did, which is, I have to say, it is still my joint favourite Bond movie, you know, with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I loved it, and there was always that worry about revisiting something, and, you know, is it going to move on? Is it going to be a different movie? Well, as Sam Mendes said, the first thing is it is a very, very different beast. I mean, it is more playful, it is more varied, it is something which very knowingly refers back to the sort of the strange heritage and history of Bond. You know, whether we're looking at, you know, From Russia with Love, or The Spy You Loved Me, or, you know, the old heritage of gadgets and Bond gags. It is also a movie which has got more laugh-out-loud zingers than I remember any Bond movie having for quite a long time. Many of them, I have to say, done by Ben Whishaw, whose role, he plays it beautifully. He has that absolutely fantastic sense of comic timing. So there was a real sense of relief in liking it as much as I did. And when that moment passed, I thought, this is great, I realised how much I'd been enjoying the action sequences.
Okay, so Spectre was released in 2015. It was directed by the returning Skyfall director Sam Mendes. And the plot for this one, a cryptic message from the past leads James Bond, still played by Daniel Craig, to Mexico City and Rome, where he meets the beautiful widow played by Monica Bellucci. She is the beautiful widow of an infamous criminal. After infiltrating a secret meeting, 007 uncovers the existence of the sinister organisation Spectre. Needing the help of the daughter of an old nemesis, he embarks on a mission to find her. As Bond ventures towards the heart of Spectre, he discovers a chilling connection between himself and the enemy he seeks, played by Christoph Waltz. The gross for this one? Well, Spectre grossed $881 million worldwide on a budget of 245 to 300 million. It's never been a final budget. It's never been confirmed, and that makes it one of the most expensive films ever made. The profit multiplier, if we take that top figure of 300 million, Spectre made nearly 3 times its budget, and it was the 6th highest grossing movie worldwide in 2015. Biggest movie that year was Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. That was number 1 that year. And it is the 2nd highest grossing James Bond movie of all time. Ratings-wise, it has a 63% fresh Rotten Tomatoes score, a 60 out of 100 critic metascore on IMDb, 61% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, and a 6.8 out of 10 IMDb audience rating. And here's a fact related to it. So Sam Mendes became the first director to make back-to-back Bond movies since John Glenn in 1989. And in summary, Spectre nudges Daniel Craig rebooted Bond closer to the glorious action-driven spectacle of earlier entries, although it's admittedly reliant on established 007 formula. Maybe the best question to ask first is, what do we think of this movie, just in very general terms? So I'll come back to you, Brother Paul.
A disappointment, because Skyfall raised the bar again. I suppose a bit like Casino Royale had, and it just, I went to see it a couple of times in the cinema, but it's too long for a start. It just doesn't work. I don't know. It just, and I think like Christopher Waltz is like such a brilliant actor, and I was so excited. It was like one of the worst kept secrets who Blofeld was and all that. And he was only in it for like 5 minutes, just doing his. He was hardly in it. I think it was a total waste, because he is one of the best actors out there, and I felt they underused him.
What do you think of the whole? And this was obviously a very big trend brought on by the Marvel movies, where everything has to interlink. What did you think of them kind of retconning things to make everything that's happened to him previously all, joined, and also that Blofeld is kind of his brother? What did you think of that?
Just tying itself in knots, trying to make it all seem to fit together, and it was just making it more complicated and more unbelievable. It's like, for me, Bond films, I think we talked about in the last pod we did, the previous 3 Daniel Craig's, and we said that Bond films aren't sequels. They're like separate films. And it just gets too messy. They're still trying to tie things up from like almost 10 years before in Casino Royale, and it just gets a bit messy, and just a bit. I mean, the locations are lovely as always, and Monica Bellucci, that was another thing. Like, she's brilliant in it, and she's in it for like about the same time as Christopher Waltz, and they're like, I felt they were really underused, and they could have been.
I think Monica Bellucci for me should have been the main Bond woman. I think that's a missed opportunity. I mean, she could have played the main Bond woman over the years, and she would have been fantastic. That was a real missed opportunity. Okay, we'll maybe cut to you, Davie. So is it well, what do you think of it? Is it too long, and were several of the cast members underused?
Yeah, so I watched it again just a couple of nights ago, to be fair, and I was kind of looking at the paused it to see how long it actually was, and it was like 2.5 hours, and it felt like it was actually longer than that. But in terms of the movie itself, like the opening scene, brilliant, with sort of like the one take. But I think it's like they've kind of thought, right, what we've done in this first film, right, we need to up it a bit in the next one. So instead of one building falling down, like in the first one he did, the Casino Royale, let's make two of them fall down. And let's have 3 scenes where, well, 2 with helicopters, 1 with an aeroplane. Let's have some air battles. So it's like they just tried to up the number of action scenes, which, to be fair, they're pretty good. Like the one with the plane chasing them, and I think that's the first time I've seen a plane sliding down since, was it the Living Daylights, was it?
Yeah. And they had the case for the cello, wasn't it? They're
Nothing to
sliding down.
declare except the cello.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we're just trying to get to some of the old scenes there. I think the limited amount of screen time that Christoph Waltz had, I thought he came off quite good, actually. Certainly,
Agreed.
The acting gravitas that he lent to it was better than some of your super baddies before, and I thought sort of kind of underplayed it as well, rather than just being full Doctor Evil type. But he wasn't in it too much, to be fair. But I think even like his wee cameo scene in the Fallen movie was just brilliant. It's the way that he acts. I was impressed. But no, I've watched it a couple of times. I do enjoy it, but it's certainly not the top one in the series of 5 anyway.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm more or less the same opinion. I thought it was okay. A lot of great action sequences. I did like the opening sequence with the one take and everything else, but that did get a bit silly with the helicopter flying around and people falling out and things like that. And yeah, I think whilst there was a lot of action in it, I think it was just to disguise the fact that it's not a particularly good story. I don't know what happened to Quantum, what happened to that organisation. Was that taken over by Spectre?
Yeah.
What happened to them? Are they going to come back at some point?
Hostile takeover.
Yeah.
Then Disney have overtaken.
So the Cuckoo's moved in, they're taking over Quantum.
Yep.
So I don't know what happened to Quantum, unless there was something in the story, I don't know. Also, the music, the opening theme was dreadful, I think. Was it who was it again singing it?
Sam Smith. Surprised you saying that, Paul, since you're such a big fan of his.
Yeah, I noticed you were a big fan of him as well, Stephen.
To be fair, though, he is looking after himself now. You know, he's keeping trim. And
did you use the word his?
Or
they?
They. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Get with it, Paul. Get with it.
Yeah, Paul, get with it.
No, he's talking to you.
Yeah.
I thought he was talking to you.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought their song was dreadful, to be honest. It wasn't a Bond theme, it was just a scream. And I thought it did drag a bit, actually. And yeah, it was well shot, well made.
Yes, it was.
The camera work and things like that, as always is with Sam Mendes. But in terms of the story, yeah, it was much of a muchness, to be honest, and rather long.
Yeah.
I think Monica Bellucci would be better used as a Bond girl maybe 10, 15 years ago. She would have been one of the ultimate, but she didn't get a lot of screen time in this one, but she could have been played a lot bigger parts in previous ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you'll pardon the expression, we're disappointed not to see more of her. Actually, that was maybe one of the funniest lines in it, when he goes to her husband's funeral and she asks him the question, did you know my husband? She's like, all too briefly. After firing him outside, firing him from a helicopter. I thought it was good. Were we happy? Were we happy that the gun barrel was back at the beginning?
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Brother Paul, were you happy that even though she was dead, Judi Dench came back for an appearance? Your favourite M?
No, not really. It's just it's another example of, oh, let's like tie it together, but we'll have to go in and change that to make that work with that. It's just like just became ludicrous, really. But
So we all seen this at the cinema, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I went to see it. I think the opening weekend. I think the Sunday evening, and in IMAX. And I took a long look. Luke wanted to see it, and I think Luke at the time must have been maybe 8 years old. It was a 12A, and I think that was a mistake. I think, especially that sequence that you mentioned earlier on, Paul. Yeah, with the Spectre meeting and Dave Bastuta, gouges the boy's eyes. I remember watching that there and looking at Luke thinking, oh, jeez. And he did say afterwards that whole scene was, for an 8-year-old, he went, that whole scene was really quite scary. Which can actually, in retrospect, you can see is quite creepy. The shadows and everything there, but that is one of the highlights of the movie. And we had the Rome chase after that. I've never been to Rome. Yeah, Paul and Davey, you have, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing the streets of Rome are always as deserted as that.
Yeah, nighttime,
yeah, if you
there,
clear
right.
it for a film scene, yeah, it always is, yeah.
Especially
in summer.
Amazing they had free reign of the streets of Rome. Huh?
And not a single passenger or a train. Or,
I know.
or anyone that worked in it by the looks at it, other than the train driver.
Well, I mean, for me, just pick up on the movie. I think there's actually a really good movie in here, but there's maybe only 2/3 or half of it. And I think that most of that is in the first half of the movie, which is really, really very, very good. And it just maybe maybe loses a bit of steam in the second half. And that whole final act, which when they go back to London and go back to the MI6 headquarters and stuff, just feels totally tacked on. It's like the film's ended and, oh, hold on, I've got this whole other scene to do. It just always feels tacked on to me and takes the runtime. It just makes it way too long. I think let's stick with Dave Bastuta. He was another one that's not really in it all that much, which was kind of disappointing. Or am I alone in feeling that way?
No, I think he was in it enough because he was just the muscle, the baddie. But I remember I watched Graham Norton. Daniel Craig was on with the cast, and he was talking about that fight on the train. And he said during the fight, he actually broke Dave Bautista. What's his name? Bautista, is it? Yeah, he broke his nose. Bautista's just he's like a professional wrestler and professional whatever. And he just basically straightened the nose himself. His nose right in front of him, but right, carry on. It was like, oh no.
That's a good sequence, though, isn't it? The train fight.
Yeah.
It's really brutal.
Definitely.
It's good stuff. And the Madeline Swan, we've not talked to her. What's her name? Leah. Oh, I keep forgetting her name. What's that?
Madeleine.
Name?
The French lassie.
Yeah.
Lea Seydoux.
Lea Seydoux. Lea Seydoux.
Lea
Seydoux.
Yeah.
Wordle.
Okay. Yeah, word of that. Lea Seydoux. And so Bond obviously falls for her, and he's meant to be riding off into the distance with her. She mentions that she loves him when he's being tortured at Blofeld's lair. I felt felt like a total plot device and undeserved. What say you?
Yeah. Trying to remember the scene actually.
That so maybe says tortured by Blofeld.
Was that so the dentist chair thing with the needles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bit silly that one.
We've got the white pussy roaming around. The cat, yeah.
Oh yes.
Speaking of which, I've gone full Blofeld.
Oh, there's Blofeld there.
There we are.
Blofeld top on.
So
Do your top up,
what?
Davey. Do it up. Do your top
I
up.
know.
Yeah, collarless.
Cuckoo, Davy. Yeah.
Cuckoo.
So,
Hello.
Let's say
What
it
did we
back.
think? What did we think of Madeline Swan as the love interest, brother Paul?
I think she's better in the next film. I don't think she's that great in this. I don't know. I just think I don't think there's a good chemistry between them. It's just not believable. I don't know. So I felt like Monica Bellucci, and I keep on going on about it, but they should have just gave her the main part and changed the story around a bit, because I think she's much better, and she'd have a much better chemistry than with Daniel Craig than Madeline Swan. And I don't know. She was just a bit bland, really.
More age appropriate as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Madeline Swan as a character?
I kind of liked her, to be fair. I
You
like
did.
the scene where they're on the train and he's like trying to get her to take the gun, and she's like, "No, I don't want anything to do with guns." And he goes, "You've got to take it. All you need to do is just point it, shoot it, and try not to close your eyes." And then she just like dismantles the gun and shoots it in there and without blinking, and it was quite good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that scene.
We first meet her when she's obviously working at the clinic, which is on top of the kind of snow-capped hill or mountain, and you then have a big kind of fight and chase scene on the snow. I personally found that whole sequence, once they got outside with the plane crashing and the cars, not terribly exciting. Am I alone in that, Paul?
No, I think they seem a bit contrived. It was like, let's wake everyone up after what happened the previous sort of half hour or so. Yeah, it was just, I think it was done for the sake of it rather than being, maybe part of the story, as it were. Sort of natural sort of progression. He's getting chased and then, you jump in a car and drive away. But I think using a plane for this, yeah, it was just...
I like how he shot the passenger, but not Batista. Even though he was hanging out the windscreen, make sure the passenger's person's dead by shooting them, but not the main boy that's going after him.
Yeah, not the guy that's getting paid a lot of money to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
There's a budget here, and at the end, obviously, well, what probably should have been the end before we get the tacked on London, but you've got Bond. Was it Spain? I can't remember where they have to travel to. Remember they go on the train? What was the destination?
Oh, it was Morocco, wasn't it? Tangier.
I can't remember.
Was that Morocco?
Is that where they left to go somewhere? Can't remember. But he's Flay or whatever it is, and obviously Bond escapes, things start getting blown up. For me, it became very PlayStation game, where it's like you've got 100 of Blofeld's guys all shooting, missing Bond, and Bond's got, the gun and, can't really miss shooting everyone there. And it's honestly, when you watch it, it's like a PlayStation game. It's just quite amusing. But one of the things which I only noticed when rewatching it again for this is at when the whole layer's starting to blow up. And I think that was a world record for the largest movie explosion. That was the first time I've noticed there's two cars driving away from it in opposite directions.
I noticed that
Bond is.
I've seen that.
And who were the cars then?
That'll be Blofeld making his escape.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So I was like, see, because then you think Blofeld's obviously been blown up as well. But yeah, two cars drive off. So I'd never noticed that before. Okay, so
we got an Uber.
Yeah, got an Uber.
We got an Uber. Hello, pal.
So, hello, pal. How you doing? It was Brian. So we get to the end of the movie. And it appears that Bond is leaving. MI6, and he's going to head off with Madeline Swan, and that's him. You remember at the time when you seen it at the cinema, were you satisfied, Brother Paul?
No, it just, I don't know, it almost became a bit like Austin Powers, you know, with the big bit at the end. And like I said, I don't think there was a great chemistry. And it's just a bit of a cliche, you know, like the Bond girls plays hard to get, almost like she's like, I'm not falling for you, James. I'm going to be all strong and all that. And she's going to succumb to his charm. But it's just like a bit of a cliche. It's like, I don't know.
Are you an advocate for women's rights, Paul?
I am, yes. That's why she shouldn't have done it. But it was almost like in the film, though, it was just very.
Just put out love straight away. Stop playing hard to get.
It's back to the days of Sean Connery, yeah.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? It was like she was almost. It was just sort of cliched, though, how she was like, "No, I'm not getting involved," and you're like, "Yeah." You know, it's James Bond.
Is this the way you've led your life, Paul?
No, I'm very respectful of females.
What about you, Paul? What did you think of the ending?
If I could actually remember it, then I could tell you. I'll say it was okay. I think it just,
okay.
Yeah, it was just like the whole film.
You're crying. Quite emotional.
Not really. I was probably a bit sleepy actually, because it was rather long. I thought okay, it was fine. Bond melts off into the sunset with his bird.
Davey?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I just cut you off there.
No.
I've heard enough.
Fine, I'll see you later. I'm off. Bye.
Yeah, no. I've heard enough.
Podcast.
I've heard enough from you, Paul. Let's move on. Davey, what about you? Satisfied at the end?
I think it makes a lot more sense once you've seen the final film, the way that's basically setting up the next one, but you're not really aware of that at the time, so you're used to seeing Bond attempting re-entry one last time before he moves on to his next Bond woman, which that you didn't get in this case. But I think looking back at it, it certainly fits in with the grand narrative of the whole 5-film sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it was like, okay.
Okay. Well, let's rank it, guys. So
I was just going to say before
yes.
We haven't really talked about it. I know we talked a wee bit about the song, but I'm going to be I actually like the song, and I like not necessarily the vocals, but I actually like the music behind it. I think it's a really nice theme. Actually, I quite like the theme, but I still think Radiohead's version would have been better. Their version,
yes.
But no, I quite like the theme. I have to say.
Yeah, I agree on
yes,
me.
that part I like it as well.
Yep. Yeah, I agree on me.
Oscar-winning theme.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Splitters.
The first one, it was the second one, because Adele.
Yeah,
Skyfall.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's rank it then. So, is Spectre top, middle, or lower Daniel Craig Bond tier? So I'm going to come to you, Davey, first.
Well, I've already got one in the lower tier, and that's justifiably so. I think this one straddles the lower middle one.
Okay, so you're going to probably go middle for this one?
Yeah.
Okay, middle it is. Brother Paul.
I'm afraid it's going in the bottom for me.
Oh, you dirty boy. Paul?
Yeah, I think it's...
Are you putting it in your bottom as well?
Yes, bottom of the middle tier.
Right, you have to make
middle
it...
of my bottom. Yeah,
so
middle of my bottom.
It's going in the middle, but the bottom of your middle, so to speak.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put it in middle tier for this one. I think there's a lot to like about this movie. I think there's half a really good movie here. but falls apart a little bit in the second half. Okay, let's move on to our final movie, 2021's No Time to Die, and here's its trailer.
Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. We just didn't get to yours yet.
The world is arming faster than we can respond. Where's 007?
I need a favor, brother. You're the only one I trust for this.
The world's moved on, Commander Bond.
You were 00?
2 years. So stay in your lane. You get in my way, I will put a bullet in your knee. The one that works.
I thought you two would get along.
Name?
Bond.
James Bond.
So you're not dead?
Hello, Q. I've missed you.
It's the most valuable asset this country has. If you feel yourself losing control,
I'm not going to lose control.
James, you gave up everything for her. When her secret finds its way out, it'll be the death of you.
What is it?
You don't know what this is.
James Bond. License to kill. History of violence. I could be speaking to my own reflection. Only your skills die with your body. Mine will survive long after I'm gone.
History isn't kind to men who play God.
What advice would you say give to whoever that person is when that noise starts to blow up around them? What advice would you give?
You've got to ignore it. You've got to kind of, literally, it's like an old adage, but you can only control the things you can control, and that's nothing. There's nothing you can do. It's sort of like major bullying. It's like, or whatever it is. You've got to just basically block it out and get on with your business.
Yeah.
And do your job. Do the best you can, and then. That's it, really. I mean, it's a ride. I mean, Piers Brosnan said it to me, and I went and saw him when I just got the part, and he was brilliant. He just said, "Just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy it." And I just started enjoying it about a year ago. That's funny.
It is good. I mean, it's much better than I had expected. It's not perfect, but it is a really solid Bond movie, not least because, like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the score of which Hans Zimmer quotes very early on in the film and which kind of hangs over the movie like an inspirational cloud, it has a plot in which loss is an actual thing, an actual possibility. When you look back at the history of Bond, the early Bond movies with Connery, they did become increasingly pain-free and I think, therefore threat-free. Then after Connery left, there was Lazenby and then Connery again, but Lazenby stepped in for On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which was the first Bond movie that really had, proper personal consequences.
So No Time to Die was released in 2021. It was directed by Kari Jolie Fukunawa. I have to watch how you say that. The plot for this one, in No Time to Die, Bond has left active service and is enjoying a tranquil life in Jamaica. His peace is short-lived when his old friend Felix Leiter from the CIA turns up asking for help.
The brother from Langley.
The brother from Langley. is there with his cigar. So the mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond onto the trail of a mysterious villain armed with dangerous new technology. So the gross for this one, it grossed $774 million worldwide on a budget of between 250 and 301 million. So not all that different to Spectre. And it probably should be noted as well, this was released as we were kind of coming out of the lockdown and pandemic, which would have had an impact on its box office. But yeah, profit multiplier, taking into account the higher figure, it made over 2.5 times its budget, and it was the 4th highest grossing movie worldwide in 2021. The Marvel Spider-Man sequel, No Way Home, took the #1 slot that year, and it is the 3rd highest grossing Bond movie of all time. Ratings wise, done very well. So 83% fresh Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics, 68 out of 100 on the critic Metascore on IMDb, an 88% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, and a 7.3 out of 10 IMDb audience rating. And, well, I'm sure we'll be talking about her very, very shortly, but a fact for you, Ana de Armas, who plays Paloma, was so worried that her action sequences would not be good enough with only 3 weeks of training. She has shared, I kept telling Carrie, I just have 3 weeks of training, and I said it so many times. You said, say that in the movie. Her line to Bond that she had been training for 3 weeks, more or less, was kept in the final version, and is a funny line. And in summary, it isn't the sleekest or most daring 007 adventure, but No Time to Die concludes Daniel Craig's franchise tenure in a satisfying style. Was it satisfying for you, Davey?
I'm going to hang my colours to the mast and say I think this is probably the best James Bond movie out of all of them. And I think
you're pulling our leg.
No, I think the payoff for the 4 movies you've had to go through prior to that, I think the payoff that this one gives is brilliant. Like the opening scene is incredible. The 2 opening scenes really are incredible. I think the music by Hans Zimmer, using quite a lot of Bond themes and making them his own. I think the music's brilliant. It's been really well directed. The action scenes in it are great, and that ending.
Yeah, I think your mic might be broken, Davey. I think you were saying that this is the best James Bond movie of all time. Surely we picked that up wrong.
Nope.
I agree with you actually on the soundtrack, because I was listening to earlier on today the Amazon exclusive gold double vinyl, just to get me in the mood for it. So yeah, I'd actually like to see Hans Zimmer come back and do another James Bond score. So yeah, you love this movie then, Davey? Wow.
Yep.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Are you telling me you think this is better than Man with the Golden Gun?
It is. Yep.
Wow. You're telling me this is better than Quantum of Solace? Or Die Another Day? How dare you?
How many dies is there in James Bond
and
films?
it's the only, I think it's the only the Bond film that features an F-bomb and a C-bomb, even though it was in Spanish from Ana de Armas. As soon as she said it, she goes, "Coño." I'm like, hey, she just said this word. Which probably people in Spain would have noticed, but not everyone in the English-speaking territories. But she just went, God.
Wow. Okay. Well,
And that fight scene in itself is brilliant. I think the idea of the nano blood, or especially obviously probably thought about before COVID, but I think that would appeal to the vaccine skeptics, conspiracy theorists. It would be a quite scary thing to think of this going into your blood and then taking it over.
Well, thanks for that, Davey. I'm going to go to your brother now. So, Paul, are you as big a fan of this movie as your brother?
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Not sure it's the best Bond film of all time, but it's certainly right at the top. Although it was quite long, I think it was over 2.5 hours long. It didn't feel like it.
40, and
The
it didn't feel
longest
like it.
Bond film, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it. It went by very quickly. There's a lot of cracking action. I wasn't sure about Rami Malek, though. I thought he was okay as the villain, but the rest of the film, the rest of the characters were superb, and I love the opening sequence, but also I love the ending as well with Madeline driving away, and we have all the time in the world in the background. So it was an excellent film. It was a
Sorry, I'm
great
just
finish.
imagining Daniel Craig waving at the back of the car.
It was an
Nobody Does
excellent
It Better
film.
comes on or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got and Christoph Waltz pops up. Cuckoo!
Hello,
Then shoots
James.
Madeline. Drives them off the road. But yeah, I thought it was a really good film and a brilliant way to end Daniel Craig's stint as Bond.
Okay, so high praise indeed. Well, you know, another thing that would have been great if when Rami Malek is talking to Daniel Craig when he's in his lair, if he'd just burst into Bohemian Rhapsody or something. That would have been great.
Yeah.
We can dream. So, well, two rave reviews there, brother Paul. Are you going to be as enthusiastic?
Paul's going to drag it down. Let's hear it.
I know, I'm going to
Paul,
come in
go.
on that. No, because I know there's a lot of anticipation, because I know this film was going to save the movie industry, like cinemas, because it was like the first film, or maybe not the first, but one of the big major ones to get people back to the cinemas. But for me, it's just not James Bond for me. I don't know. I mean, there's good bits in it, but it's just, it's that thing like the previous one where they're trying to piece everything together. And I would say Madeline Swan's better in this one. But Rami Malek, who I think is quite a good actor, I think he's quite. I almost want to laugh every time he comes on the screen and he puts that voice on. You know, it's almost like he's, I don't know, in a spoof Austin Powers one or something, you know. And for me, it just didn't feel like a James Bond film. Probably the best bit, the bit that was quite emotional was probably when Felix dies. I think that was quite an emotional bit. But the bit at the end, for me, it's just, no. Yeah.
Well, let's stick with it then, because I mean, we'll stick with maybe the ending. But for me, this is like the Last Jedi of James Bond movies. So kind of 6 years later, I still don't know if I like The Last Jedi. And it's the same with No Time to Die. Because same with Jedi, there's so much to like in it. Like, you know, it's beautifully shot, the music's great, it's really well acted. I like the plot, you know, a very timely plot as well, very relevant. And there's so much to like in it, the same with The Last Jedi, but I kind of get to the end of it and think, did I like that movie?
I think they've acclimatised you to how long have we been going on for? When was Doctor No released?
62.
62, so 60 years. So we've been acclimatised to expect, well, Bond's always going to be all right no matter what happens. You'll get out of this situation. It's a suspension of disbelief that you know it's going to happen, but you don't care anyway. So when the ending of this film came up, you're almost like jolted out your seat, like, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
I know,
you
you're
can't do
shocked.
this. No, that's not going to happen. Surely not. I think, wait a minute. I think it's not until you see the missiles right at the top of his head, you went, no, they're not going to do this. And it's almost like unbelievable. It's like, I think it's a brilliant way, even if that was like the way they decided they were going to film the whole franchise forever, but just didn't tell anyone they were going to do it. And it was almost like a Stanley Kubrick moment, like where like The Shining, where Halloran was supposed to be the hero of the movie, but as soon as he steps into the Overlook Hotel, he gets axed to death by Jack Nicholson, and people that read the book are like, no, wait a minute, and it just set them on edge for the rest of the film. Whereas this is like, if they genuinely had said, right, keep it quiet, Cubby Broccoli or the Broccoli's don't want to make any more, but keep it quiet, we'll pretend that they do. And then this was just the actual end of the franchise. I'd be like, well played, you've pulled a line there. But we all know he's got to come back in some form or other, but the way they ended that movie was just incredible.
Yeah, I think like it highlighted for me that it was time for Daniel Craig to call it a day as well. I think, I don't know, just like this film and the previous film.
I mean, the thing is, I know a lot of people really dug the death at the end. I was kind of expecting it because I'd read a few things as to why Danny Boyle had left. I think
That's
Danny
right,
Boyle
'cause he didn't want to do
Danny
that,
Boyle
yeah.
didn't want to do that, and I think that was one of the reasons why he left the production. And I think Daniel Craig was quite insistent on it, which, you know, fair play to him. But for me, it's just smacked of ego. I'm going to be the one that gets killed at the end. And what I would have preferred, personally, is, and it's another one we'll talk about, which is Bond as a dad. And what I would have preferred if Madeline maybe had got killed, which you could argue is maybe too similar to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but this time round it ends with him leaving MI6, but he's now a dad. So at least he has the happiness in that, and it's and I would have liked that ending. But yeah, but let's talk about that twist where he was a dad. Now, I went to see this again in IMAX when it came out, the opening weekend with Alison, and unusually, she was the one that spotted something. I never clocked that she was pregnant. Alison spotted it. She went, oh yeah, when she's on the train, she puts her hand to her stomach. I went, oh, I never noticed that.
Maybe she
But it
had
must
too
be
much to eat on the train or something.
Yeah, I know. I went this, so she had noticed that, and I went, no, I've never seen that coming at all, and I quite like that. You know, Bond being the dad. Were you guys the same?
Yeah, I thought it was a genuine, like, almost shock, like James Bond's a dad. I mean, he's probably a dad 100 times.
I know he's
over.
probably not the first one.
It's
the only one he knows about.
And he's got lots of kids he's not claiming.
The CSA after him, eh?
Yeah.
Probably why he blew himself
Child
up
support
to
agents.
avoid all the alimony.
Yeah,
Child
I know.
support.
All around
Too
the
many
world.
claims coming in. Just send in 10 minutes files. That's easier. Thanks very much. Yeah. But yeah, so I think nobody thought that was a bad move.
I did.
On that plot development. You did.
I would
Why?
have thought it was bad if had he survived. Like, why are you giving James Bond a child? Like, I'm not going to watch like a next movie where he's like going about where he's like mutt in Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I'm not having this.
Oh, he can only do it part time just to pay for childcare instead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I need to get back to the way. I've got to read another story. Sorry, Blofeld, I need to go.
Sorry, it's a nativity play today. I can't come
James
out.
Bond and son or daughter.
Yeah, no. Can I do a condensed hours? Yeah.
I think as soon as you get
Can I
on
work
that
from
film,
home?
he actually had to die.
Can I get Mondays off, please?
As soon as you give him the child, I think
the man with the golden
he
dummy.
had to die. No, the alternative that would be the child had to die, and that nobody wants to see that. Bond on revenge because of the death of his child. Like, no, it worked out the right way, I think.
I'm sorry, Q. I need to go to Aldi's to get some bread before it shuts.
To get some barley nuts.
I know that they had Phoebe Waller-Smith come in to do a rewrite of the script, and I think you can tell a lot of the lines that are hers. I think there's a lot of really good humour and one-liners in this movie. I think the one that made me laugh was...
That's another thing, yeah.
Yeah. I think where they meet the CIA guy that's with Leiter, it's like, where'd you find the Book of Mormon? And I think the bit where Bond goes back to MI6 and the guy at reception's asking, yes, and he has to, well, your name is like Bond, James Bond, right? You know? So there's lots of really good stuff in
I
there
like the
like
one
that.
as well towards the end where he's like, I was talking to Q, he's like, I showed him your watch. It blew his mind.
Yeah. No,
There was a lot
there's
of good humour that was in this that was missing from previous ones, and that's another reason why I like it so much.
Okay. And well, we better start talking about one of the performers in this, who I think we all agreed was excellent, and one of the highlights, which was Ana de Armas, who was I forget now who she played as well.
Paloma.
So yeah, Ana de Armas playing Paloma, one of the highlights of the movie. What made that whole, obviously the scene with her in Cuba, what made it such a good scene, good action scene, good build up, and such like. Brother Paul, coming to you first.
Yeah, it's good because like the bit you were saying there about she'd only been in training for 3 weeks. So that's quite clever that had actually happened, and that they put that in. She's only in it quite briefly, though, isn't she? She's not in it.
She is. Wish she was in it more.
But no,
As do we all.
Yeah, she was good, and she's certainly done well for herself now. You know, she's in a lot of big films. So yeah, I felt like she was underused in it almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think, one of the big things with her. If you want maybe what the modern Bond woman should be, it's her, right? You know, obviously beautiful, intelligent, funny, and can kick butt. You know,
Judi Dench.
Judi Dench, yeah.
And drinks her liquor.
And drink, yeah, no bother at all, yeah. So, Davey, a fan of Anna?
Yes, I think that's one of the most impressive scenes in the movie. Just standing at the bar. No, the action scenes in that are brilliant. Like you say, if she's only had 3 weeks of training, then can I go and get her training because she looked brilliant. She was all flying about all over the place. It took me about 6 months to even get past 5K, and I want to.
Very good. And Paul?
Yeah, I thought she was really good. I liked how she fended off Bond quite confidently instead of falling from like a lot of other Bond girls. I think that was quite a nice change. And yeah, the action sequences were superb as well.
And she drops a C-bomb.
In Espanol.
Yes.
You know, was a PG-13 or was it a 12E?
Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, I think for me the highlight of this movie is the pre-title, which is nearly half an hour long. That I think the stuff in Italy especially is just beautifully shot, great soundtrack, great action. Love the callback to Vesper going to her grave, and then again the surprise, the Spectre bomb, boom, there, and then the ensuing action. And again, it doesn't end how you think it's going to. Or obviously, Bond's distrust of Madeline, off she goes. Brilliant. See if the movie ended there. I would have been quite happy. Brilliant. Great 30 minutes. Thank you very much. We never talked about the theme tune. Billie Eilish. Anybody have that near the top of their favourite Bond theme tunes?
I was going to say, when I first heard it, I thought this is a bit boring. But then, after seeing the film, I think it fits perfectly with the theme of the film, so the mood of the film, and it grew on me, and I do like it. It's quite haunting, but I think it matches the film, the sort of sentiment of the film.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yep, I liked it after seeing the movie and hearing the full soundtrack where it's kind of integrated into that as well. Brother Paul?
Yeah, I just think it's a bit boring, a bit flat. It's just like, I think there's been so many Bond films that have been quite down and It's like we want to get one. You know, I think the next one they need to up the pace a bit. You know, the next theme, because they all seem to be similar, and you know, I think it'd be good to have like a sort of Living Let Die or A View to a Kill or You Know My Name. I think they really need to get that back in the next one, because the last few have just been a bit. I mean, it's a decent song, but it doesn't really sound any different from the other ones. Yeah, but what was quite funny, because I remember getting the song at the time it came out, because obviously the film was going to, I think it was originally supposed to be come out Easter, wasn't it? 2021 or 2020?
I was pushed back from 2020 originally, yeah.
So I remember this, you had the song, and of course, you didn't see the film for another, what, year, was it?
2 years, was it, no?
Yeah,
nearly.
It was supposed to be like November 2020, it was coming out in.
Yeah, so it was supposed to come out, I'm sure it was Easter 2020.
It was.
Like,
yeah, because the song came out when I was in Florida in 2020. So that was February. It came out in February 2020, the song.
So it's funny having like a year and a half until the film came out, pretty much. Having the song. But I do get what you're saying as well. I think when you see the film, you appreciate the song more, but it's just a bit like, we want something a bit more upbeat for the next one.
Okay. Nice impression of Billie Eilish there. Davey?
Yeah, well, as Paul said, it was a grower, not a shower.
The way you live your life, Davey.
First, we were a bit unimpressed as time went on.
Excellent.
I think the way it is a good song, and the orchestration with Hans Zimmer is good, and the way it was like interplayed into the actual soundtrack throughout the film was really well done. It's a really good use of the theme tune and the cues and that, and like combined with Hans Zimmer doing like old school Bond cues, and like even like bumping up again. I thought it just tied in to make the perfect Bond movie.
Yeah, and Johnny Smith.
Johnny Marr.
Johnny Smith.
Yeah.
Johnny Marr. Johnny Smith. Johnny Marr, the Smiths on it, yeah.
Johnny Smith, the Mars.
Johnny Smith, who comes from Mars and eats Twix. So let's rank this movie then, guys. So I can already predict where Paul and Davey are going here. So I'm going to start with Brother Paul. Are you going to rank this movie top, middle, or lower tier?
I'm afraid I think the film is quite rank, so I'm going to rank it bottom tier.
Oof. Davey?
Oof. Top of the top tier.
Paul?
Top tier.
Okay. I'm gonna go middle again. Lots to like in it, but yeah.
You're going to be Switzerland.
Yeah, no, there's lots to like in it, but just don't think it holds together in the end. And I totally disagree with that ending, which is maybe the primary reason I
can't. It's not a Bond film.
Enjoy that?
I do.
You should be here the first day.
First day was like,
It's exhausting. It's like going to the gym for 10 hours straight.
Yeah.
You know, so intense. But it's good. It's good.
There are worse jobs.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. The dress, you'll see it. It's like I'm almost naked.
Really?
For the real Cuba.
Yeah.
Not for this weather. But it really looks so nice. It's beautiful. And it just moves really, really nice. It's funny, we're covering some bruises and we're making other bruises.
Anyway, so that is our rankings for those two movies. It's now time to rank all 5 of Daniel Craig's in order of preference. So I'm going to come to you, Brother Paul, first. So you have to rank. Where are we? So yes, you've got Casino Royale, you've got Quantum of Solace, you've got Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die.
So I'll go from the bottom upwards, from the least favourite. So At number 5, I would say would be Spectre. Number 4, Quantum of Solace. Number 3, No Time to Die. Number 2, Skyfall. Number 1, Casino Royale.
Okay, thank you. Davey?
Right, reverse order. Obviously, 5th is going to be Quantum of Solace. Where are we going after that? Spectre would be number 4. Maybe a bit controversial and say Casino Royale, number 3. And number 2 would be Skyfall. And the top would be No Time to Die.
Okay, Paul?
I'm going to go the other way, top down. I would say number 1 would be Casino Royale. Number 2, No Time to Die. Number 3, Skyfall. 4, Spectre. And 5, the film that shall not be named, Quantum of Solace.
Okay. For me, 5th, I would have Quantum of Solace. 4th, I would have Spectre. 3rd, No Time to Die. 2nd, Skyfall. 1st, Casino Royale. Okay, so, well, let's finish with 2 questions. And the first one is, how would you rate Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond? So I'm going to stick with you, Paul.
As a Bond, as the character, I think he's second only to Big Tam. I think he was a really good Bond. He was more, I think he was closer to the actual character than the stories. A real hard nut with a bit of a sense of humour. And I thought he was excellent as Bond. He was quite refreshing from previous Bonds. Quite of a darker character as well. You know, not as jovial as some of the other ones, but I think a more realistic Bond according to the stories.
Tenko, Brother Paul.
He was brilliant. Casino Royale, absolutely fabulous, and you know, brought Bond back to being relevant again, really, after Die Another Day and Invisible Cars. And so, I mean, what he did was amazing, and I was also really happy for him because he got a lot of stick at the time when he was announced. You know, when he was doing the River Thames and he had to wear the life jacket, and he was kind of getting slagged by the press and fans. So I was glad that he kind of showed them, actually, do you know what? I'm going to make the possibly best Bond film ever, never mind my debut. The sad thing is, I don't think he ever really kicked on from that. So when I look about his films, I don't really, Skyfall was good, really good, but I don't think he really kicked on, sadly, with the films. He never really took off from Casino Royale for me, which is a shame because I thought he was brilliant. But it might be the films as well, not necessarily him. But no, he was brilliant. But I think it was the right time for him to die.
Okay. So there was time to die.
Yeah.
Okay. Davey.
I think he's got the title of having the best Bond film and the worst Bond film showed up for me. I reckon he probably could have potentially been the best Bond if they just cut out that Quantum of Solace. If he just made the 4 without that, and if we just pretend he never made it, he's probably right up there. But obviously, I do love my Roger Moore, and that's a completely different style of Bond. And the films are a completely different style from the new age when they've perfected all the special effects. There's no ropey, as you say, all the stuff with the invisible cars, or going back to the older films as well, where it's just a wee bit creaky, some of the special effects. But I think he's trained well for it. He looked the part, even like in his final movie there. He's probably a wee bit Probably ages with Roger Moore, but he certainly doesn't look like Roger Moore in
No.
his final Bond outing. He still looks very, very well built. So that would, yeah, he's definitely up there. But if he only got rid of that absolute turkey of a movie that he made after building up such a good name for himself in the first one.
Yeah. I find it very hard to kind of rate the different Bond actors because they all bring really something very different to it, and they all define the time that they're made. But I think he was an excellent James Bond. I think, as I said in the previous pod, it was a masterstroke that because he was quite a skinny guy. It was a masterstroke deciding to make the move to bulk up, and that was really to prove any doubters wrong that this guy could be Bond. It's like he could handle himself. He had the physique, and he had that great kind of arrogant attitude the way he played it as well, which I really, really liked. I do think sometimes he was let down by some of the movies, some of the choices that were made, and I do think it's a missed opportunity. We never got to see just a standalone Bond adventure, just a traditional, right? You have a fun pre-title. Then afterwards, he goes into the M's office to get his assignment, and he goes off on the mission, and it's just self-contained. And that's a shame we never got at least one movie with that, because yes, it was a necessary move, the route that did go down, and Daniel Craig was the right actor for it. And obviously it was much more influenced by the likes of the Bourne movies and Batman Begins. It was the right move to go down the more realistic route, where they're obviously more about feelings and what are the consequences of your actions. That was totally the right move. But yeah, it just would have been nice to have had that standalone fun adventure.
Do you not think that he almost took like 20 years before, it's almost like the public was ready for a different Bond, where like Timothy Dalton in License to Kill, who actually, I don't think these guys like that film, but I think it's one of the best Bond films, and I think
love it.
It's only really been appreciated in later years, and I think it was almost like the public maybe wasn't ready for it, but they were ready for it at that point when Casino Royale came out. But I think it takes a lot of it from Timothy Dalton, actually, the way Timothy Dalton was. And it's almost like, but it was the right time to do it now, maybe, when he did it.
Well, here's the final question. What do we want from the next incarnation of Bond? And do you have an actor in mind who you would like to see take up the role? So I'll stick with you, Brother Paul.
At first, I thought the Scottish guy that was in Game of Thrones, and he was in
Richard
Madden.
Was it Citadel?
Richard
Madden.
Richard Madeley.
Madden.
No, I think he would be good. Other than that, I don't really know, to be honest. And do they go back to because I think they have to, like you're saying, I think they have to go back to separate films rather than trying to make it like a big jigsaw puzzle. I think they have to go back to like standalone films.
Yeah, Davey?
What about maybe they've just seen the formula out too much and they should officially just stop now instead of carry on for the next 100 years? Can they reinvent it? That's the problem. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next time, because of all the things that have gone before it. So they need to do something special to make people want to keep seeing it. What's that, 60 years it's been going on? It's like even people are getting sick of the Halloween movies now. It's like, but they still watch them, but we need to, I've not got an actor in mind, but they need to either go back to like a younger version of Bond, like in his 20s or something like that, and get a young actor to play him, or I don't know how they're going to go forward, but be interested to see anyway.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm sort of agree with Davey, actually. I mean, is it a good idea to have another Bond film after so long, and after that ending as well? I think if they didn't have that ending, they didn't kill him off, then yeah, there'd be scope for another film, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's had its day. I think I'd be surprised if they did start another film. I know they're talking about it, but they always talk about it. And I think if they do go back to it, it would have to be a standalone film, like you said. I think it should not have like a series sort of linked together. It should just be a sort of a standalone film with a lot more action, a bit more joviality, a bit more comedy, instead of all doom and gloom all the time, and sort of serious storylines. Make it a bit of fun. As to who would be the Bond actor, I honestly don't know. I can't think of anyone who would sort of fit the bill at this time. Yeah, I'd be surprised if there would be another one in the next few years, if at all.
I suppose there isn't a rush, really, is there? Really, there's not a rush.
Yeah. But if it were to stop, then I think No Time to Die is the ideal place to stop, as Davey said. And I wouldn't be upset if there wasn't another Bond film again.
I actually think it would have been good if they'd stopped at Skyfall, because there was a conclusion there. There was a new M, and they could have finished it there as well.
I think it was right to carry on after Skyfall. Just that Spectre was a bit of a mishmash. It was a bit too long and a lot of it was contrived. And then I think it was after Spectre, it was right to tie it off with No Time to Die. And now they've had that ending, I think it'd be a good place to stop. And I'm not desperate for another Bond film. I'm not eager for another Bond film. And if there was never another one made again, then if there wasn't another one made again, then I wouldn't be bothered about it at all.
Would we all pay to go and see any movie?
Oh yeah, go. Yeah.
So there will be another movie. Right. So yeah, I mean there will be another movie. That's for sure. But for me, yeah, what I'd like them to do is, as a couple of you guys have said, is go back to. I think they need to go more fun again. I think we've had for 15 years or so, we've had a more darker take on Bond. More serious take. I think we need something a bit more lighthearted again. And Bond always does that. It kind of changes with the times. I think we're ready for something more lighthearted. The standalone type adventures that you can take your kids along to see and you can watch on a bank holiday at 3:00 in the afternoon. I think we're ready for that again. Who can play it? I don't know. I mean, obviously a lot of famous names get talked about. I wouldn't be too disappointed if it was someone who is fairly unknown who took up the role and just made them, a big star. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think, as you say, Paul, we're not going to see a new movie certainly, and for the next couple of years. I think you'll probably be looking at 2026, 2027 before we get the next one, I would say. Once
make sure it's shorter as well. Instead of 2 hours 40 minutes, make sure it's just about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Back in the old days where it was only long because they had the adverts and the news at 10.
Yeah, let's get back to under 2 hours. Yeah, definitely.
I've got to throw a name out there for the next Bond. Ryan
Paul
Gosling.
Look a bit dark there, Davey. Oh, he saves the jacket.
Ryan Gosling,
because Leonardo DiCaprio's too old to play him, but I think he could fit in there, I think. And he's like, 40, so he's got another 15-year stint in him.
Oh, Bond needs to be British or Irish. I know George Lazenby.
It's called acting, my dear boy.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, on that bombshell, we've got that obviously recorded. Davey's tip for Ryan Gosling. Let's see if it comes to fruition. So, Paul and Davey, thank you for joining us for these last 2 pods and sharing your opinion on the 5 movies. Very much appreciated. And thanks to you for listening. If you want to weigh in or to give us your thoughts on Daniel Craig's James Bond movies, please feel free to get in touch. You can find how to get in touch with us in the show notes. And do come back next month for, well, we're kind of sticking with the spying and espionage side of things. So we're going to do a two-parter on the Mission Impossible series. And that's kind of tying in with the new movie coming out, part 7. So we're going to take a look at Mission Impossible 1 to 3 next month. Davey and Paul, you might want to rejoin us for that. I don't know, you guys Mission Impossible fans?
I haven't seen any of them.
Have you not? Oh, they're brilliant.
That would make you a really good guest. Go out and watch them.
Yeah, I could.
No, they're brilliant.
What? How many? Is 7 of them?
6 currently.
6. Oh God.
And they actually
one of them not like 2 parts, so.
The next one, yeah, is a 2-parter. Yeah.
Oh, is the next one a 2?
Yeah.
Was it not one before the 2-parter? No.
No.
That's the next one that's 2-parter. Right.
So they're doing a Harry
But how
Potter
many
then,
are
are they?
there?
6 and one. The last one's a 2-parter.
I think so. So yeah, come back for that, because I think, yeah, especially Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3 is very much a mixed bag. So looking forward to discussing them. Not looking forward to having to rewatch Mission Impossible 2 again in preparation.
Yes, that's probably one of the. Yeah.
Which one was that? I think.
The John Woo one.
Australia. It's like an MTV video.
Right, okay. I think I gave up after the third one. The third
what?
one was on they're in Dubai.
On the plane.
What's the one
that's
that's climbing up the
Seymour
Burj
Hoffman.
Khalifa or whatever?
The was Calaf. That's 4.
I might have seen that. I might have missed 3 actually.
I actually think they got better, believe it or not. I actually think they got better each film. Certainly the last 3. Which
4,
is
5,
unusual
and 6 are excellent.
Mhm,
Yeah. The last one, 6, was. Well, we're
yeah.
kind of jumping the gun. I think the last one was the best one. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Maybe my favourite movie released that year. Tremendous stuff. Anyway, that's for another time and another place. So we've got no time to die, that's for sure. But we do have to make time now to go off and eat food and drink some tea or whatever at this point. So come back for Mission Impossible, and until then, keep trimming.